Shaun Livingston was a heavily hyped prospect when he entered the NBA draft, but his career was anything but a straight-line path to stardom. Although he had to fight his way through a number of roadblocks along the way, he eventually found his way to a quality NBA role with the Golden State Warriors. But what really happened to Shaun Livingston over the course of his career? Well, welcome back to the channel for all things pro sports. Stay locked in right here to get all the details. Shaun Livingston grew up in Peoria, Illinois, where he dominated on the court. Initially, he attended Richwoods High School, but transferred to another area school in Peoria Central High School for his junior and senior seasons. In both of these seasons, his Central High Lions won the Class AA state championship, with Livingston leading the way with his great size and skill. In 2004, his senior season, he received even greater recognition, earning the title of Illinois Mr. Basketball as the best prep player in the state, and was also chosen for a spot in the McDonald's All-American game. On top of his great play on the court, he was highly regarded as a prospect both for the college game and for the pros. He was ranked as the #1 point guard as well as the #2 player in the class overall behind future NBA All-Star Dwight Howard. Livingston was heavily recruited by the nation's top programs, including North Carolina, Illinois, and Arizona, but he decided to commit to a legendary program at Duke University. However, like many other great prep players of the era, Livingston felt that his draft stock may never be higher and decided to forego his college career in favor of a direct entry into the NBA draft. Still, he was highly regarded and his stock even rose. As a 6'8" point guard with excellent handles, strong rebounding ability, and above all a great talent for distributing the ball, he was the type of player that many teams would want to see running their half-court offense. The only real knocks on Livingston going into the draft was his slight frame. He weighed only 175 pounds at 6 feet 8 inches, and the fact that his shooting stroke from the outside wasn't yet at the level expected from a typical perimeter player in the NBA. But still, if there were any doubts as to his NBA potential, just take that review that NBADraft.net posted prior to the draft. Give him 30 pounds and he can throw out all the hordes of recruiting mail that he's received. NBA Commissioner David Stern would personally swim up to the Peoria River to personally grab this magician with a ball. His coach-to-be at Duke added the following about Livingston: the main thing about Shaun was his ability to pass the ball. With his height, he was able to see some things that a normal point guard couldn't see. Even with his height, he was able to penetrate and make plays. He's a beautiful player. Passing is one of the main things in our game that takes it a whole other level. Shaun could do that as well as anybody. With expectations for the smart and gifted point guard already at a high level, there was only the question of where he would be drafted. The Los Angeles Clippers answered that question by taking Livingston with the 4th overall pick in the 2004 NBA draft. However, they switched up the script on Livingston and immediately modified his role from what he had played in high school. Instead of being a primary distributor from the point like he had been at Peoria Central, he was moved over to the shooting guard spot in order to play alongside veteran point guard Sam Cassell. In this first season, Livingston filled his role as a perimeter distributor, but his shot was still coming along. Though his 2004-2005 season was cut short due to a dislocated right kneecap, ouch, he still put up a balanced stat line of 7.4 points, 5.0 assists, and 3.0 rebounds per game. In the 2005-2006 season, the Clippers continued to work with Livingston to develop his scoring ability, while allowing him to continue his primary role as a passer. Again, he continued to be solid defensively and on the boards, posting 4.5 assists, 3 rebounds, and 1.1 steals per game. More than that, Livingston continued to show his excellent potential, including in a playoff run that saw Los Angeles win a series against the Carmelo Anthony-led Denver Nuggets. While the Clippers would eventually fall to the Steve Nash-captained Phoenix Suns, the growth from Livingston was apparent. As longtime Clippers broadcaster Ralph Lawler said, there was not a whole lot of great moments for that basketball team during that era. Having Shaun join the team gave you a reason to be excited to come into the gym each night. You could see him grow, you see him work on his shot, you could see him getting stronger, and you thought this guy had a chance to really be special and be the type of player you could really build a franchise around. In the 2006-2007 season, Livingston continued his growth, showing his increased ability as a scorer while maintaining the foundation of his basketball ability. Everything looked to be coming up perfectly for the young point guard, but then disaster struck. In a February 2007 game against the Charlotte Bobcats, Livingston suffered one of the most devastating knee injuries in league history. After missing a layup, Livingston came down awkwardly on his left leg, dislocating his left kneecap and doing a substantial amount of damage to the rest of his knee. In the end, Livingston tore his lateral meniscus, his anterior cruciate ligament, his ACL, his posterior cruciate ligament, PCL, and severely strained his medial collateral ligament, MCL, in addition to several other associated dislocations. So it goes without saying that this was an incredibly serious injury, and it immediately sidelined Livingston, but consequences could have been even worse than that. Let's start with this. If Clippers team doctor Steven Shimoyama hadn't quickly intervened to pop the knee back into place, there was a distinct possibility of gangrene setting in, or even of the lower part of the leg needing to be amputated. While Shimoyama was successful, Livingston wasn't out of the woods yet. A doctor at the medical center Livingston was taken to mentioned that amputation could still be a possibility if circulation through his knee was not at a healthy level. Thankfully, the circulation was normal and Livingston's knee remained intact. Local sports writer J.A. Adon said it best when he remarked that watching Shaun Livingston blow out his left knee was the most heartbreaking scene since Bambi's mother got shot in the meadow. The promise that Livingston had shown for so long was in jeopardy, as was his entire basketball career. The injury was severe enough where Livingston required significant rehab time to be able to even walk again. But his dedication was strong enough that he not only walked, but went on to resume his basketball career in October 2008, signing with the Miami Heat, though he played in only 4 games with the team. Even making it back to the league was an accomplishment, but Livingston was far from the same player. In the years to come, Livingston had a hard time finding somewhere to stick around and play basketball. He bounced from Miami to Oklahoma City, to Washington, to Charlotte, to Milwaukee, to Houston, back to Washington, and finally to Cleveland in the 2012-2013 season. During these years, he seldom played large amounts of minutes, but contributed as a quality offensive player with his trademark playmaking and rebounding, but also with his much improved ability as a scorer. Still, with his knee issues in tow, teams didn't want to commit to Livingston as a reserve player long term. That is until he joined the Brooklyn Nets. There he worked his way into a starting role, effectively running the Nets offense from the point guard position. Livingston had his best season since his knee injury in Brooklyn, averaging 8.3 points, 3.2 rebounds, 3.2 assists, and 1.2 steals per game. He was still not a ball-dominant player, but he attracted league-wide attention for his ability to make the rest of the players on the team better. This attention also came from the Golden State Warriors, who were in the midst of building a dynasty with Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and Klay Thompson. Surrounded by these great players, and later all-time great Kevin Durant, Livingston's deferential style worked extremely well. Able to play along the edges both offensively and defensively, Livingston picked up the slack and was an integral piece of the Warriors from 2014 to 2019. During this time with the Warriors, Livingston won 3 NBA championships and played in 2 others. While he seldom filled up the stat sheet, his veteran presence and basketball ability was a key piece of what helped the Warriors team remain balanced throughout their lineup. Following the 2019 playoff season, Livingston retired from the NBA and immediately transitioned to a role within the Warriors front office as the Director of Players Affairs and Engagement. As of early 2022, he is still in this role, and this way basketball remains a key part of Livingston's life even after the end of his 15-year career as a player. So what really happened to Shaun Livingston? Well, it's pretty obvious. It's the knee injury that he suffered only a few years into his NBA career. Livingston should be credited for his hard work in returning to the league and still contributing at a pretty high level, especially during his time with the Golden State Warriors. However, it is fair to say that Livingston was never the same player after his knee injury. At one point, expectations for him were comparable to the all-time great Magic Johnson, who was a similar-sized point guard with excellent abilities as a facilitator. In today's game, Livingston's potential could probably be compared to that of deferential perimeter players like Lonzo Ball or Ben Simmons. Although the long journeyman career that came after the injury for Livingston was a disappointment relative to his early potential, it is still incredibly impressive to last so long in the league after he could have possibly lost his leg. It's truly a great story, even if the ending wasn't quite as sweet as expected. So what do you think about Shaun Livingston? How do you think he would have turned out if not for his knee injury? Be sure to leave us a comment and make sure that you like, subscribe, and turn on those post notifications so you can watch our latest NBA content updates as soon as they drop. We'll catch you in the next one. Have a great day.